Chapter 9. The question of women and their emancipation. Learning outcomes. At the end of this chapter, you should be able to explain the necessity of feminism, discuss and articulate the idea that women's rights are human rights, and recognize how women's rights are abused and articulate possible paths to emancipation and equality. Introduction. A woman in almost many parts of the world is faced with challenges that make it difficult for her to realize her potential as a person. For example, if one were a young girl in southern India, she is snatched away from her family to be forced to marry a much older man. That man and his mother will treat her like an unpaid servant and a producer of children. She raises the children, works constantly in the house and on the farm, and receives beatings from her kidnapper husband and his mother. If she manages to escape and report this crime to the police, they will most likely bring her back to her abductors and abusers because in their eyes, she is the property of that family. In obviously violent or subtle ways, women are victims of unequal treatment in much of the world. No matter how much they work, they are paid less. No matter how talented they are less likely to be higher than their male counterparts. They are the overwhelming victims of sexual violence. Many forms of modern slavery are reserved for women. This is the reason why feminism is a framework for thinking about justice and fairness is necessary. Because of the forms of violence and injustice that are particular to women, a specific form of ethical theory has to be developed. The feminist ethical theory is a theory born from the realization that women have a different set of issues that male-dominated ethical theories cannot fully address. The clear example of this are forms of discrimination and violence, particular to women, like the belittling of their work as homemakers and childbearers. Although traditional ethics could explain the injustice of the violence of discrimination and marginalization. Thus, a woman lens is needed to explain why certain social structures are ethically wrong. Another reason for the necessity for women's perspective in ethics is the different way of women reason morally. Women have a different way of deciding on the best action to take given a moral dilemma. For instance, the kinds of work traditionally assigned to women such as nursing, preschool, and elementary education and domestic work, on the whole, pay lower than most other work dominated by men. Why feminist ethics? It is a branch of ethical thinking framed by women to confront the challenges women face. It is a theory of the good and justice that puts into focus the abuses and injustices that women have to suffer and theories why this injustice exists and how we can address them.
For now, our topic is all about how we can work toward emancipation. So today, the women emancipation movement is an ongoing project with women continuing the struggle for equality while discovering various and creative way of being a woman. The aim of movement continue to evolve with more and more women exploring social realities and exposing how economic governance and culture system oppress women. There are many areas to consider when thinking about the good using a woman's ethical perspective. First is to protect the rights of women. The meaning of this is we must do with regard to the liberation of women is to ensure that all their rights are preserved. The second one is the right to life, the right to the means of death, the right of women of being educated. The second one is the right of women to have a bodily integrity. The third is the right of women to access health care. The right of education. It is important to a woman to have intelligently and freely participate in our community. Through educating a woman, we become creative people who can participate in the task of building in our community. The second one is the right of women to have a bodily integrity. As a human being, a woman must be respected and protected. Then there are some culture belief about woman oppression that husband can use their wife sexually without her consent. Other believe that the woman can be kidnapped and treated as a servant. The third, there are there are some belief also that the rape is a weapon in war. The third is the right of women to access health care. Women who bear children have a right to medical treatment that pertains to their health from pregnancy to motherhood. The second one, it may also access to have a birth control method. The third, women have the right to access to prenatal medicine care, access to childbirth method.
Hi everyone, I'm Guillermo Di Sultan, and today I'm gonna discuss to you the roots of women discrimination. In this topic, my advocacy is to empower the women which to stop discrimination to them. First and foremost, nanggaling tayo sa babae, which is hindi dapat natin maliitin sa kung ano lang ang makakaya ng mga kababaihan. Dati, hindi talaga maiiwasan ang pag-discriminate sa mga kababaihan lalo na sa kanilang kakayahan sa pagtrabaho, paghahanap ng pagkikitaan para buhayin ang kanilang pamilya. Maraming klase ng discrimination ang naranasan ng mga kababaihan dati tulad ng discrimination sa trabaho na mas pinipili ang mga lalaki kaysa sa mga babae kasi mas may tiwala sila sa mga lalaki at kakayahan ng lalaki, which is ito ay maling proseso. Sa ganitong paraan pa lang makikita na ang discrimination sa mga kababaihan. Dahil dito mas nawala ang kanilang confident na ipakita ang kanilang kakayahan at sarili. Sa totoo lang, ang pagiging babae ay maraming responsibilidad tulad ng pag-aalaga sa pamilya. Ang babae ang gumagawa ng gawaing bahay, pagturo sa mga bata at pagbantay. Kaya mas mahirap ang pagiging babae kasi mas marami silang na-experience na kahirapan kaysa sa mga kalalakihan. Noon at ngayon, hindi pa rin nawawala ang pag-aabuso sa mga kababaihan kasi wala silang kakayahan na maitanggol ang kanilang mga sarili. Common na ang tinatawag na rape at pag-abuso sa mga kababaihan. Dahil sa discrimination, nawawala na ang respeto sa kanila at naaabuso na lang sila. Hindi sila makalaban at makasalita dahil wala silang sapat na kakayahan at suporta. Tulad ng sinabi ko, maraming kababaihan ang naaabuso at dahil sa mga ganitong pangyayari, nagdudulot ito ng trauma sa kanila tulad ng pagwala ng kanilang confidence sa sarili, pakikipaghalubilo sa mga tao, at pagkawala ng kanilang pananampalataya sa Diyos. Ang iba na nakakaranas nito ay minsang napapabayaan na ang sarili o nagpapakamatay dahil sa trauma. Laking pasasalamat ng mga kababaihan dahil unti-unti nang natutulungan ng gobyerno ang karapatan ng mga kababaihan na mabuhay na mapayapa at malayo sa krimen. Women rights are human rights. Tao din ang mga kababaihan, kaya deserve nilang irespeto at pahalagahan. Respect. Ito ay simpleng salita lang pero malaking kasiyahan sa mga kababaihan. Bilang isang lalaki, irespeto din natin ang mga kababaihan tulad ng pagrespeto nila sa atin at tulad din sa pagrespeto natin sa ating ina at ina ng ating Diyos na mahalagang babae sa ating buhay. We should respect and empower the strength and weaknesses of all women because they always try their best to live like a man.
The Babylon and Philippine history. The Datas had their share of arcane knowledge of doing magic. The Babylons specialized in harnessing the unlimited powers of which they used for both good and ill intentions. Women of Babylon were more likely to be power to influence and tap the various spirit in nature. Because of their ability to negate the dark magic of the Datas and heal the sick or the wounded, among the powers of the Babylon was to heal the sick and lead rituals with the fearings with the various divinities. When the Spaniards came with their quest for gold, God and glory, the Babylons found themselves at the front line of the battle against the God part. Today, Babylons are past reminders of how Filipinos regarded women in long before colonizers came ashore. Perhaps it is because of our collective memory of women as powerful equals of men.